And you're very welcome to the two-man wall. It's Johnny Ward and it's Adam Russell. And today, dear gentlemen and gentlewomen, we're going to chat about the contenders as we see them for the Premier League. Do Man City actually have a chance this year? 12 points so far out of a possible 24. Have Chelsea and Spurs come into it? Do Manchester United have a chance? And should Liverpool be odds on? All these things we're going to talk about, as well as the big games coming up at the weekend. Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Good morning, Johnny. I'm very well. Thank you. Looking forward to another show.
Okay, let's get straight to the chase. Liverpool, yay or nay? 13-10 with Star Sports. This has been a bit of an odd one for me because I remember thinking when they were 4-5 that I couldn't see them beaten. Then Van Dijk got injured. Then they went out to 5-2 with Star Sports. That came after they played very poorly against Sheffield United, I think. But they've been absolutely brilliant since. And to my mind, they probably should win the league. Are they valued at 13-10?
Yes, I think they are probably valued at 13-10. I think they're already showing that they can handle the injury problems that they've got. They've obviously been on a great run since Van Dijk got injured, perhaps to the surprise of everyone. I think maybe the key for them might be how far they go in Europe, especially with, as we say, the injuries that they've had. If they do go far in Europe, that might hamstring them a bit towards the end of the season as the games start to mount up a bit. Obviously, we've seen how many muscle injuries we've seen in the Premier League already, so that's gonna play a factor once we get into March, April sort of time.
Right, let's get to Manchester City then. 8 games, 12 points, and that puts them 8 behind Liverpool, who they failed to beat, maybe a little bit unlucky in that game, but the big one was losing to Spurs. And I don't see it at all with City. I've said it all season. I think Pep has pretty much lost his mojo here. But the fact that they've already dropped 12 points after 8 games, an average of 1.5, they're basically getting 3 points every 2 games. Nowhere near good enough. Where is this revival going to come from? Because they have to hope that Liverpool and to a lesser extent Spurs kind of drop away a bit, and they have to develop a consistency that I haven't seen at all this season.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the main concern is the consistency. I would still say if we're going sort of a yes or no on this, I think they are still in the hunt, definitely. There's obviously a long way to go and there's going to be plenty of twists in store yet, I would think. But obviously it's a huge move out from 11-10 into 5-2 now. I wonder for them whether Pep makes Europe the priority already. And obviously winning in Europe is a huge target for Man City. So I do wonder if maybe at this stage they might cut their losses in the league, take a top 4 finish and try and win the Champions League. But we've seen with City that obviously a few seasons ago they were on that run and they won 17 on the spin. So they've got the quality and the experience in their squad to put a run together to challenge for the title. It's that consistency that we haven't seen yet. But if they do find it, then they're as capable of anyone in that league of putting together a string of results and really going on to challenge. Depends. It'd be interesting to see if they go into the market again in January. They obviously spent a fair amount of money in the summer. It feels like maybe they might want another forward, another striker. Aguero can't keep him fit at the minute. And then obviously Jesus, there's questions being asked whether he's going to be able to score the kind of goals that they'll need to challenge on all fronts this season. So be interesting. Maybe they go in for a striker or an attacking player, someone to maybe fill in that David Silva role that we mentioned last week. Although obviously those players are hard to come by as well. But maybe they'll focus on Europe. I still think they're in it at 5-2, but I'd say they're second favourites behind Liverpool at the minute.
Okay, so you were sweet on Spurs and Son Heung-min to score, which you did after 5 minutes in the game at the weekend. And for me, that goal actually, in a way, sums up why City won't win the league. It was so bad, so bad defensively to concede a goal 5 minutes in. Spurs, I think, now I could be completely wrong on this, but I think Mourinho's mojo is going to be pretty high at the moment. They're flying high, and I think it's really going to carry this kind of good vibe in the dressing room and all that. They're going to score goals. I think they have a chance. I do think they have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they've got a chance. Obviously, one of the great things that Mourinho is arguably greater at than any other manager is that siege mentality and making his players and his squad feel like everyone else is against them. And that could really play into Spurs' hand this season. If he can get that squad all pulling in the same direction, then, like you say, I think they've got all the tools that you could need to go on and challenge. Again, it's going to be a question of consistency for them and possibly as well keeping people fit. If
that's the key, isn't it? Their squad depth wouldn't be quite what Liverpool's is anyway.
I think it's better than it has been in previous seasons at Spurs. They've signed well over the last few years. I think they signed well this summer. People like Højbjerg looks a fantastic buy for them, and he obviously didn't cost too much for Southampton. And the way Ndombele is playing at the minute, he looks completely different beast than he did last season. He's playing unbelievable at the minute. And if they can keep Kane fit, that's the thing. Kane normally misses 10, 15 games a season. So if they can get a full season out of Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, then they've got the goals there. And if they can keep them out at the other end, as they've been doing in recent weeks, then yeah, they've got every chance.
Yeah, here's another one as well. If crowds do happen to come back towards the end of the season, maybe the latter third of the season, and we have a vaccine.
Don't get me started on these crowds thing.
What's wrong with you?
Well, obviously it's good to have that we've got crowds back in, but it doesn't make any sense to me that depending on what tier you're in, obviously you can either have 4,000 or 2,000. That is logical to me. But as a Bolton fan, we can have as many fans as United when United have 4 times as many seats as us. So it's illogical to have, even if you've got a tiny ground with a 4,000 seat capacity, you can have 2,000 fans. But if you've got 80,000 seats, you can only have 2,000 fans. That's again, we've talked about it in the past. It's the illogical rules that they're coming out with. They just don't seem well thought out. And I think, anyway,
I think the fact that you've gotten Bolton into this, into a chat about who'll win the Premier League is again just testament to your creativity and so forth. But on that point, that stadium Spurs have is so atmospheric. If they're on a run where they've their last sort of 6 or 7 games played in that stadium, wanting to win the league for the first time since whenever, Mourinho, getting the crowd going, that could be actually worth a point or two to them. I think as bonkers as that sounds, I think it will help. Which brings us to Chelsea, who I watched against Newcastle at the weekend, and it was very, very just run of the mill. Really, they just did it without any hassle. They look pretty solid, Chelsea, I have to say, defending a bit better as well.
Yeah, I've got to say they've. What's impressed me about Chelsea as much as anything is the way they've switched on the defence. Obviously, it was something earlier on in the season. There was questions about when they still had, different. They had goalkeepers that they weren't too confident about. Now Mendy's come in. They've conceded 2 goals in like the last 9 games in all competitions. So you think, okay, well, maybe they've sorted their problems out there. They've got Thiago Silva, Marshall in the back 4. Zuma seems like a different player than he did sort of 6 weeks ago. So if they can keep out enough goals, they've got enough going forward. Same as you'd say about Spurs, really. They've got enough going forward to make a challenge. They've got goal scorers. They've got a lot of options in midfield. They can play different formations. I think they've got a chance. I'd say, again, if we're yes, no on are they contenders or not, I'd say yes at this point. But again, it's going to be about consistency. There's a long way to go. But they do have at least a little bit of Premier League winning experience still in that squad. Like Kante and Azpilicueta have been there and seen it and done it, really. So, but yeah, they're interesting to see how they progress over the next sort of couple of months over the Christmas period as well. I think that'll be a test for them.
Okay, so briefly of the rest, I think, Arsenal already 13 points from 9. It looks a bit of an uphill battle. Manchester United, 8 games, 13 points. So win their game in hand, they're 4 off the top. Kind of still have the attacking potential to maybe go on a run, but just don't really seem to be able to put any particular consistency together. And we're talking 28-1 bar, really. Is there any suggestion that one should be looking at an outside bet here? I have thought Leicester had something of a chance, even backed them against Liverpool. I thought they were very poor on Sunday. I probably resigned myself to the fact that it will be one of the top 4, but then again, we thought it was a 2-horse race to start the year.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with some of these contenders. I think it's really disappointing me, Arsenal at the minute. I think they're awful to watch. They're so boring to watch. And it's not something we normally say about Arsenal teams. One of the saving graces of being an Arsenal fan over the last few years is that despite everything, the football was still attractive. It was fast. It was free-flowing. And it just seems a bit stagnant under Arteta at the minute. I think maybe they just need a spark up front just to get them going and get them scoring goals as we know that they can do, really. They've got the likes of Aubameyang, who's going to score 20, 25 goals a season if you give him the service. So I would say, no, they're not contenders. I do think they can get top 4 if they put a run together, but same with Manchester United. They've kind of proven over the last few seasons that they don't have the consistency to mount a serious challenge. They can put a run together, but the kind of run that they'll need to overcome that gap to Liverpool, I'm not sure they're going to be able to put together. Southampton, it's not even really a question on Southampton. They're they're not contenders. I think Leicester are the interesting ones for me at 33-1 at the minute. I do think they're a few injury problems away from really struggling. If they lose a few key players, they could struggle. But I think 33-1, especially with stars each way terms, you could get 11-1 on them finishing second. So I think that's reasonable value for a team that, again, they've got Premier League winning experience in that squad still as well. So I think at this stage, I would give Leicester more of a chance than Arsenal or United, for sure.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Just I haven't watched them at the weekend. I thought they were so out of it against Liverpool, and granted they weren't at full strength themselves, but I mean they really and they gave away a bad goal. But I thought they were kind of like men against boys against a Liverpool team that was really missing about 5 players. But in any event, at Star Sports, of course, we are supporting Safe for Gambling Week, and it's final day today. And if you'd like to find some more information, please check out the details on the screen now. And this brings us to the games at the weekend, and the big game standing out a mile really is Chelsea versus Spurs, 2 kind of left field candidates, maybe start season for the title race, but now very much in it. And this is a 4:30 kickoff on Sunday, Adam, and we are talking about a game that I think will be very, very interesting in terms of the title race. Looking at the moment, like 21-20 Chelsea, 5-2 the draw, 5-2 Spurs. I find those prices interesting because I genuinely do think home advantage is worth next to nothing at the moment. There have been more away wins than home wins comfortably in the Premier League so far. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think you're certainly right about home advantage not really counting for too much anymore. Be interesting to see if that does change as soon as fans come back in. But it's going to be an interesting game as well. There's some really nice games on Sunday. Obviously, got Chelsea Spurs, we've got Southampton against United, and we've got Wolves against Arsenal. So Sunday afternoon should be a real cracker to get settled in on the sofa and watch those games. Spurs on the longest unbeaten run in the Premier League at the minute, 8 games, but they've won just 1 in the last 32 at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, home advantage might not count for much, but those
one of the last 32.
One of the last 32 at Stamford.
Oh my God!
That came, I think it was 2018 that came. So it's been, aside from that, it's been a fairly barren run at Stamford Bridge for Spurs. As we mentioned earlier, Chelsea have only conceded 2 goals in the last 8 in all competitions, and what an impact Mendy's had in goal for them. I think it's what happened with, you remember when Alisson came in at Liverpool? Not so much that he's making outstanding saves or that his performances are really like making a difference. I think it's just the confidence the defenders have to know that there's a good goalkeeper behind them and that there's not everything's kind of life or death in that situation. You can let someone shoot from 30 yards and be confident that it's not going to go through Kepa's hands, like as has happened a few times earlier this season. I suspect that both teams will probably be happy with a draw in this one. I think early on in the season, big game, both sort of fancy themselves as title contenders, and I don't think they'll be keen to take too many big risks. I especially feel that way about Mourinho. I think he'll set up, not negatively, but quite in a way that's going to, keep the ball in the areas that Spurs want the ball to be in and make Chelsea work hard for all their opportunities. So I'm leaning towards the draw at 5-2. If I had to kind of build a few bets, I saw that get Hakim Ziyech and Heung-min Son to score any time at 12-1 with Star Sports Build a Bet, which I think is cracking value. Ziyech's made a real impact since he came back to full fitness. And I also thought with the draw, over 3.5 goals, so maybe a score draw, and Mason Mount, everyone's favourite midfielder at the minute to score any time. That comes out at 32-1. So a fairly big price, but if you do fancy the draw and you want to get a bit of extra value with Star Sports, you can build your own unique bet however you like it and get a bit of extra value.
We got to finish up with the Jonathan Norris Fishmonger's offer, which was pointed out to me by an ally who's big into his food. And if you haven't seen this, go to the Star Sports website, where Star Sports has launched Star Treats, where basically you can get a great load of seafood and shellfish by just, I think you have to just stake 100 quid or more during the term of the promotion, and you get a gift voucher for 50 quid to spend in any of the Jonathan Norris shops. If only I lived in Britain. Are you a man for the old shellfish or seafood, Adam?
Not just that, I'm a man for John Norris's seafood.
Beautiful.
I've been down to his store in Plimlico a few times, and it's a spread like no other in the city, really. So, yeah, it applies for new and existing customers. So, yeah, get yourself a Star Sports account, wage yourself £100 on some of the weekend's action, and we'll get a £50 voucher sent out for you for some nice fish.
Love it. Love it. Have a good week, my man.
And you, mate.
So who wins the league finally?
Liverpool.
Liverpool for me as well. Talk to you next week.